Hello and welcome to 365 in 365. It's been a couple days since I made a video, and I really do apologize for that, seeing as I'm supposed to be making a review every day. I did continue to watch my movies though, so it's not a thing of that nature, so I've definitely seen all the movies. It's just I got really busy these past couple days, so I haven't really had any time to actually make a video, which was my problem, and maybe the problem of being a one-man operation making this sort of thing. But I'm going to give you this video now that's going to have 3 reviews for you in it. And let's start with the first movie that I watched, which was Sing Street. Sing Street is a 2016 comedy drama film written and directed by John Carney. The film follows Connor, a boy growing up in Dublin in the 1980s who is forced to go to a new school by his parents. When leaving school one day, Connor meets Rafina, a 16-year-old aspiring model whom Connor falls in love with instantly. He asks her if she wants to be in a music video for his band, and she says yes. Only thing is, Connor doesn't have a band. So, Connor forms the band Sing Street with a couple of other kids at his school and starts to write music in order to get closer to Rafina. This is a really charming movie, actually. The love story between Connor and Rafina feels like a naturally evolving one, and that definitely helps the film's story because you understand how she could go from being friends with him to liking him romantically. All the actors in this movie play their roles perfectly. All the teenage actors in this movie feel like actual teenagers, doing things that teenagers would do. The chemistry between Connor and Rafina is really good, which is another element that helps the romance come across. And I have to give praise to Jack Reynor. You may know him from Transformers: Age of Extinction, which was the last one with Mark Wahlberg in it. And after seeing that movie, I just assumed that he was another sort of pretty boy, really bad actor, kind of taking over the sort of Megan Fox or that Victoria's Secret model lady from the third one's role of just being sort of the pretty face to look at for people. But in this movie, he's actually really great as Connor's older brother. At the beginning of the film, I just assumed that he was going to be this stoner who just loves music, and that was going to be his whole character. He was going to sort of guide Connor through music that way. But by the end of the movie, you find out more about him, and he becomes a fully fleshed out human being rather than a caricature. I also have to praise the songs performed by the band in this movie. So few movies about fake bands work for me. Mainly because whenever they play their songs that are supposed to be their big hits or the song that puts them into prominence or whatever, there are always these really bad songs that I don't think that would ever get famous ever or that people would enjoy. But these songs are actually work, and they're really catchy. Special shout out to the songs Riddle of the Model and Drive It Like You Stole It. They're both insanely catchy tunes that I actually really enjoyed, and I've been playing pretty much every day since, and immediately got added to my Spotify playlist just because I liked them a lot. And I think actually like people in real life would enjoy this music, so that's why it kind of works for me that these are the songs that people enjoy from them. Overall, I thought this movie was just really charming and left me with a good feeling when all was said and done, which is, you know, what I'd really like from movies. This is a movie I'd recommend anyone check out. It's a much easier film to recommend than the other two that I'm going to, I guess. And I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because I really enjoyed it. The second movie I watched in my tiny hiatus that I didn't even want to be a hiatus was Cheap Thrills. Cheap Thrills follows Craig, a struggling family man who loses his low-wage job and is threatened with eviction. In an effort to delay facing the music at home, he heads to a local bar and encounters an old friend. The two friends are roped into a round of drinks by a charismatic and obscenely wealthy stranger along with his mysterious wife. The couple engages the two friends in a series of innocent dares in exchange for money over the course of the evening, with each challenge upping the ante and both rewards and boundaries broken. It seems like easy and much needed money, but the couple's twisted sense of humor pushes just how far Craig and his friend are willing to go for money and cheap thrills. I didn't write that synopsis, so that last bit always bothered me when I read it. This movie, for the most part, I would say is good. Like, it's well made. It's not like a bad movie in any way. All the performances in it are good. I thought they were all playing their parts well, especially the two leads, Pat Healy and Ethan Embry. I think they both played their characters very well, and I believed both of them in their characters. The challenges that they are forced to do never felt too outlandish to me, which I really appreciated, because in a movie like this, they definitely could have went like way overboard with the challenges, like something crazy, like jump off the roof, something that like no normal person would ever do, or something crazy like, I don't know, like it just, they all felt normal and real. And even when they did sort of get a little outlandish, like there's one later on in the film that I think, given the dollar amount given, people would actually do. So I appreciate the fact that it never got way out there. I found myself really empathizing with the character of Craig throughout the film, understanding why he was doing what he was doing, because I thought he's a good person who was just dealt a shit hand in life. And by the end of it, though, he's changed so much that I barely even recognize him as the same person. But the movie overall, at the end, left me with an empty feeling. I didn't feel better or worse for having watched it. It felt like a movie that just sort of kind of ended in a way that I don't think would be the way those characters would act. Especially from the main character of Craig. I really think that he did change over the movie into something that I think the person at the beginning of the movie definitely wouldn't do what he does at the end of this movie. I'd say if the plot interests you from what I told you, then check it out and decide for yourself. It's on Netflix, so it's not that hard to find. It's a relatively... it's only like an hour and 27 minutes. It's a short movie, but I myself am going to give it a 4 out of 10 because it just, I don't know, it just didn't totally appeal to me. The final movie that I watched today was Nocturnal Animals. Nocturnal Animals follows Susan, a wealthy art gallery owner who out of the blue one day receives a manuscript for a novel written by her ex-husband. The film, from this point, is told in two parts. The first part is the story of the book Nocturnal Animals, the story of a man whose family vacation turns violent and deadly and his attempts to bring justice to the men who wronged him, and the second following Susan and how the novel is affecting her and her recollections of her past with her ex-husband. This movie is a movie that I feel like I'm gonna have to watch twice to totally understand it, just because the story, while being interesting, especially given the fact that I had never seen a trailer for it, really. The most I saw was a TV spot that I barely even paid attention to, is in the background, but I liked the actors in it, so I thought, hey, maybe I'll check it out, and it seemed kind of interesting. But I totally had no clue what it was going into it, or what the plot of the movie was, really. And so it interests me throughout, but early on in the movie, I got a little lost, because... Just because, like I said, I didn't know what to expect. So when it first starts off telling the story the way it is, I didn't really know what was going on or what to expect. And then once I eventually figured it out, it clicked for me. And I think it's going to be the kind of thing of watching it again, knowing what to expect from it. I might get a lot more out of it on a second viewing. The performances are all great. Amy Adams is playing a character that's different from any that I've seen her play before. Jake Gyllenhaal is good in both the roles that he has. He plays both the ex-husband of Amy Adams in real life, who's the one who wrote the book, and he's playing the main character in the book when we see the book storyline go through. Michael Shannon, who's great in everything, is great in this. The one performance I really want to throw praise on is Aaron Taylor Johnson, who in everything that I've seen him in, except for maybe Kick-Ass, I usually think is terrible. But in this, he's actually playing a character that has motivations. Him not being a cardboard cutout compared to other movies that he's been in is actually probably why he's doing a great job here. The film looks beautiful. Every frame of it looks like it could be a painting that's hung up in a gallery, which is strange because the main character works in an art, or owns an art gallery. And I just loved looking at it. Like, it was just so beautiful to look at. This is an interesting movie that I think people should see. I don't want to talk too much about the plot that happens in it because it's relatively new. I think it just came out a couple weeks ago, probably for awards seasons. The acting's all great. The way the story is told is something I've never really seen before, so points for originality on that one. And I think overall I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 with the caveat that maybe on a second viewing I'll like it better. So if I ever watch it again, I'll let you know if I liked it better than the first time I watched it. But those are all the movies that I watched in the past couple days. I'm definitely not going to try to do something like this often, because I just think throwing 11 minutes of video at you for 3 different movies and, you know, you guys not being able to choose. Well, I'm going to put timestamps and stuff for everything that you want to hear, but I think sort of throwing 3 movies into one video is maybe a little bit of sensory overload. And is not something that I want to do too often. If I ever have to do something like this again, though, if I ever, say, get too busy and can't make a video that day, this will be the kind of thing that happens again. But I'm going to try not to do this that often. I'm kind of upset that it had to happen this early. But anyway, going on into the spiel, have you seen any of these movies? Sing Street, Cheap Thrills, and Nocturnal Animals. If you saw any of these 3... and you have thoughts on them, maybe give them down in the comments below and tell me a movie down there that you think I should watch. If you like to hit the like button, consider subscribing and maybe sharing with a friend that you think would like this video. And if you want to keep up with everything the show's talking about, like I announced the fact that this was going to happen with the 3 movies in one video. If you'd like to keep up with all that sort of stuff, you can check us out over on Twitter at 365 in 365 show. You can check me out on Twitter at itsjaygriff, ITSJAYGRIFF. And that's pretty much everything to talk about. We're going to be watching a new movie tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Later.